Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening to this. Good morning to us. Good day to all of you out there. Another episode of the Coffee with Coaches podcast. I'm your usual host, Kevin. And today I have with me Maureen. Is it Sweetman or Sweatman?
Sweatman.
Sweatman. Okay, I should have asked that before I hit record. But anyway, you can see how the sausage gets made. I will trip over the pronunciation of a name 10 times out of 10, even if it's John Smith. So Maureen Sweatman. Maureen is a certified coach who supports others as they evolve through the stages of their career and lives to reach their full potential. She helps others grow their choice muscles for making the changes that will get them closer to who they want to become. And she teaches everyone how to break through limiting beliefs and to choose joy every day. I love the emphasis on choice. I love choice muscles. Maureen, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. It's great to be with you.
Let's start at the start. Let's begin at your beginning. Kind of a two-part question, so you can answer it however you'd like, but what got you into coaching? What prompted you to realize that maybe you already were a coach or that it was something that would be a great expression of who you were? And then also, what prompted you to start a coaching practice?
Yeah. So at a moment of reflection, a potential career transition, exploration about 6, 7, 8 years ago, let's be a little unclear there. You know, it starts and it ebbs and it flows, right? And I just had this moment or these moments of realizing this is really who I was and what I have been doing all along. I worked in nonprofits and higher education, and it was kind of my brand, right? Like people came before we all had a brand, right? But I was known for, people coming to me to help them think through life and what was going on for them and who they wanted to become, particularly students, but also my staff as I rose in leadership, helping them think through who they wanted to become and what that might mean and how to get there. And so I also was starting to get that itch. I had 2 master's degrees, one of which was an MBA. So I was thinking, long term, I always think I'm going to have a business. What might that be? So at this career, kind of reflection point, I thought, well, why not now? So let it be the side hustle. I'm a single mama, have been for many years. And so multiple streams of income are always a good thing.
Oh, yes.
And so I launched, I said, let's see where this goes. It's not, as much of a risk because it's a part-time thing for me. And so that's kind of how it began.
I love that. I mean, you literally practice what you preach. You flexed your choice muscles. Yeah. You were like, let's take a look at the lay of the land. And it's like, you know what? This seems like a good idea. I'm going to choose it. Mert's going to see how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's get a little bit into the nitty gritty of your coaching practice. And I like to throw this out there, this word that could be interpreted however you really like. I like to ask what's unique about your coaching practice, but really that can be what really, what's your core, what you've had the most success with, what you've had the most traction or passion about. So what's something that you would say is unique based on that broad definition of the term about your coaching approach and your coaching practice?
I think what makes me unique and my coaching approach unique is what you named earlier about liking that choice and growing your choice muscles. People don't often think of themselves that way or life that way or transition points that way. And so some people, when they read my bio or see my website, they see all the joy and the positivity and those things. And for some people, they question that, right? Like, ooh, is this toxic positivity stuff? What are we doing here? And for me, it's really grounded in choice. So you get to choose who you want to be. We're always becoming. And so who do you want to be? Are you stumbling into it? Or are you making choices and growing those choice muscles to choose what really does bring you joy and reflecting on your vision, your values, your strengths to even know what joy is for you. So the kind of getting this really grounded place and growing those choice muscles. So I think that's where my approach is unique, really helping clients individually tap into all of that.
Yeah, really grounded in self-awareness and self-discovery with a very sort of a action-oriented approach where it's like, okay, we're going to identify your muscle groups, your choice muscle groups. Here's where they almost like you're a physical trainer where it's like, okay, here's this group. We're going to work on this today. They all work together, but they all develop separately sometimes. And so you just kind of like target and grow them, and then teach people how to, or help people to discover how to flex them in ways that actually
Absolutely.
serve them, as opposed to the way we sometimes, and I might be speaking too much from personal experience, we work against ourselves with our choice muscles, where we have certain muscles and certain muscles over here that just kind of like aren't, basically they're not working together and working in the same direction.
Exactly. So really taking that holistic approach and really tweaking, like almost being like a scientist about it, right? Like, let's try this. Well, if that doesn't work, that doesn't mean we throw the whole thing out. It means we try something else because that thing just doesn't work for you. So let's try a different practice or a different strategy, a different action step. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an important step in the process, and why I think one of the places where coaching really thrives and excels is that it can be very difficult to take that try it on, see what works approach, because failure can be difficult. Failure in any capacity, by any definition, can be difficult for people to process. But it's the best teacher we've got, or the best teacher we have on like speed dial. I can always dial up a failure. It doesn't take very much for me to do that, but I'm not always listening for its lessons. I'm not always willing to persevere through a failure in order to find what's on the other side of it. It's lessons and also the successes that are promised by that. And just being, at the very least, just being encouraged to continue and not, throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say, it's such a huge benefit to coaching like yours, I think.
It's also tapping into those mindsets. So when we have those failures, shifting how we think about failures. Maybe we don't call it that anymore because that feels too big and it taps into our fears, right? So how do we think about that as a lesson learned and a growth opportunity, right? So even thinking about how we approach from a mindset standpoint, making those tweaks is really powerful work.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's talk about 2022. I know I'm of two minds because it's both still very early and already as we're recording, we're more than halfway through February. So I feel like we have so much runway to go, and also where's the time going? So, the usual conundrum, but what do you have coming up in 2022 that you're excited about, that you're passionate about, that you think people might want to know about, that is just interesting?
Yeah. No, it's one of those sweet spots to be in where I'm like, I'm already booking things in the summer, which feels fantastic, So
Nice.
I really shifted into my coaching practice full time when the onset of the pandemic hit. And so, going into year 2 of doing this full time and it going really well is amazing. So I think what I'm most excited about is to continue to support the clients I already have, meeting new clients through the different relationships and partnerships I have, as well as I'm part of a team with a different coaching business beyond my own that we have several big engagements throughout this year already booked through 2023. And so all of that together, because I like to do different things, right? Like if I just did coaching sessions all day, every day, right? Like that's exhausting to anybody. So I like to mix it up. And so I'm excited about the mix of things for this year.
I like that. I like that approach quite a bit. And I think that's a good thing, I think, for other coaches, especially who are early on in their development, to hear, whether they're still on the side hustle stage or if they've jumped in and they're a couple of years in. It's like that you can join other like coaching practices and firms and large organizations and be a part of that while still really driving your one-to-one, coaching practice, your own business. I feel like people sometimes fall into the trap of that it needs to be either or. It could be both. It could be both and.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier, I have, I think, a divinity degree. So I'm a both and kind of person. So, and I really support that with my clients. So again, how can you tweak your thinking that it's not an all or nothing, right? The all or nothing is a fool's choice, as they call it. So don't slip into the fool's choice. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. And I couldn't agree more as someone who has fallen into that trap more times than I care to count.
Yeah. We all have, right? Like that's the good news that I remind myself, I remind my clients, I remind my family and friends, like we're all human. We all fall into these same kinds of things, right? But as we support each other, we can do a little bit better next time and a little bit better the next time.
It's one thing I come back to constantly talking to coaches is rising tide raises all boats. I just feel it's such a positive contribution to just the overall well-being. Honestly, more than that, the joy of the human race, the joy of our society. It really does come down to that. Like there's such a, I feel like, maybe not an allergy, but just a reticence to realize that we can be happy, we can have joy in our lives that is internally generated. things are going to happen, obviously. Things are going to happen in the world and your personal life that are going to, prompt you to feel a certain kind of way, and that you could feel those feelings and still have a core of joy and forward motion and growth and all those things that we love to have in our lives that make our lives great to live. Sorry, I'm starting to get into the inspirational territory now because I'm getting excited about it.
That's great. And I mean, you're speaking my language. I say all the time, joy is my love language. For that notion that part of my mission too is like debunking that myth that joy is something out there we have to work towards, and we check all the boxes or do all the shoulds and the right things, right? Like we get the prize at the end. That's not how it works. It's just how you just described it, right? It is that core. It is that self-awareness. It's that grounding that no matter how the winds blow, we stand. We might bend, but we don't break and fly away.
Mm-hmm. The willow versus the oak. Isn't that the old analogy?
Yeah.
I like that one a lot. I remember that one. That time has flown by. It's already been close to 15 minutes, I think. Before we go, where can people find you, meet you, talk to you, get to know more about you? Do you have a preferred social media? You've got a website, I presume. Let people know where you're at.
Yeah, so there's two places I like to send folks. One is my website, which is joyfullivingcoaching.com. Lots of great resources there, videos, books, more about me, all these great things. You can sign up for my monthly newsletter for more resources and kind of the inside scoop of things. And then the other place I like to point people to is Instagram. Now, I'm not one of those folks who's doing all the reels and all the fun things, but what I do make a point to make sure I'm doing is putting more of that joy, more of that positivity in the world. So much so that one of my clients from several years ago said, I love following your social media because it's what I call hashtag joy scrolling. And so if you want some joy scrolling, follow me at Maureen Sweatman on Instagram. So that's how to find me.
That's perfect. Joy scrolling. And you know what? Yeah. And feel free to comment and hashtag joy scrolling. I think we need to get that trending. I love that so much because a perfect pivot from doom scrolling. It's like, what about joy scrolling? That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Maureen, it has been a delight to talk with you today. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast with me today.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a great day. Joyful day.
Thank you to the audience, and hey, we'll talk to you soon.